Consider supporting Sonicguru Productions on Patreon for just $1 a month. Link below in the description. Hello and welcome back to Itembox. With me, as always, is Nicky Wormst17, and been a bit slow, but last week we actually got some big news of one franchise we love and some BS of a franchise we all love.
Mm.
You'll know when I talk about it because my voice will become very filled with detest.
Exactly. But let's talk about this surprising development.
Yes, the cancelled Crash Bandicoot cartoon, which is more of your wheelhouse because you're the animation expert.
Well, I am, but well, where do I begin with this? So, yeah, if we're talking out of the blue stuff, yeah, this just happened as of recording. This happened just a few days ago, so this is all still new info, still coming out exactly what's true or not. But in a nutshell,
Yeah,
so
there's prefaces. Actually, new information comes out after this recording and gets uploaded on YouTube because you don't comment saying, "Did you know this?" We know.
yes, I think for for future-proofing this little discussion here, we will say that anything we say now may change or whatever, but we will talk about the basis of what this thing is.
Hmm.
Of what we know of. So this came out. So apparently there was somebody on Reddit who apparently told us about. Oh, by the way, there was a Crash show in the works apparently for Amazon with Activision behind it, but apparently it got shit canned because apparently they disagreed about something. I'll get to that in a second. And apparently lots of people behind this supposedly lost their jobs, and it was apparently ready to go. It was like ready to go, ready to be developed. And what we got out of this person is two pilots, which more or less look the same, although again, slightly different animation style, and a series pitch bible of the whole thing. So yeah, in terms of the first thing I have to think of is that are they screwing with us? Are they not? But after the last few days, it's looking more like this actually was real, but it's still like how and why and what the reason for it getting canned is still up in the air at the minute.
Yeah, it happens with a lot of cartoons. I think there was I think it was the same style as like Johnny Test or Fairly Odd Parents about I can't remember. It's like In Disguise or something. I can't remember. It's like there's several cartoons that get canned after one episode because
Yeah,
because
yeah.
going all the way back like the late '90s, around out there, the thing called Cartoon on Cartoon Network.
Yes, that was part of well, it's probably called What a Cartoon. It was basically Cartoon Network's pilot season of here's a bunch of shorts we got different people to make, and hey, which one of these would be popular to be a series of? And, we know that stuff like Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, Johnny Bravo, Courage, they all got all on, whereas there's a lot of others which you're
Yeah, I
here for
think I
ages
think Ed
telling
and
you
Eddie
about
as
that
well, but
never
I
got
think
off
that
the
already
ground.
was. I think Ed and Eddie was as
That was
well.
much later.
Yeah, that was on the
Yeah,
crust of what the '90s
much
cartoons.
later.
Well, it kind of reminds you of that, like
Sort
the
of
pilots
late
in general.
90s. Yeah, and like I said, so the pilots, so like I said, so we didn't get one but two of these, and if you will check them on the line, in fact, I've got a video that is showcasing of the two, and we may show some screenshots here of just what they look like. But yeah, it's apparently the setup is Cortex, it's basically showing you how Cortex created Crash, how he goes bonkers and then runs amok. And it's weird to see the same one, but with a slightly different style of the two. Like, again, if you look at them side by side, they are distinct enough to say somebody's gone and made this twice, but why? Because normally when you
I
do
think it's just more.
pilots,
I
you
think it's
tend
just
to.
used for more expression, really, because the second one is a lot more vibrant, and I would use the word elastic. Like there's a lot more stretching of the faces and
I was going
hands.
to say, mm, I was going to say, out of the two, the second one I kind of preferred. It's a bit more elaborate. There's a bit more fluidity in the motions, secondary actions, a little more detail. One change I noticed
Especially
is
the
like at the
lighting, yeah.
beginning of both. Yeah, the lighting and the backgrounding, that alone, like the shading alone is different. But one difference I noticed is that at the very beginning, he's like tells his name, and he's addressing. In the first one, he's sort of just addressing the audience, like he's talking to someone. In the second one, he's recording it like he's doing a diary, basically. So there's a bit of a slight different context there. But yeah, it's essentially the same setup, the same gags, the same pacing of it with slightly different timing. But yeah, it is odd to see two done the same. And the only thing I can equate this to is either they set this up to see which animation team would make the better show, really. Maybe this was like an in-house thing to say, okay, one team does this, one team does that. But it's very rare to see stuff like you get two of the same thing out there. I mean, sometimes in animation, like oftentimes you'll see like the pilot episode shown with the series, or they'll sort of redo it, retake it, and whatever. There's some examples like regular shows are good. It's one you can see out there. You can see the
Yeah,
difference
I would
between
say
the
not sorry,
series animation and
not.
the
I
pilot.
would say not just in animation. In not just in animation, but there's a adult show on Netflix called Paradise PD, and you listen. It's the audio has that pilot feel as well, and pilot sound, because some of the
Yeah,
characters sound
I mean,
nothing.
even
They sound nothing like they do later in the season or even the next season. Because in Paradise PD, there's a character called Dusty.
yeah, I've
He originally had kind of normal, a typical fat guy sounding voice, and later in the season he has a more high pitched.
But yeah, I mean, I was also going to bring up like MLP. Like, you look at the two-part episode of the very first series, and you compare it to the rest of it. Again, there's still like some changes both in style, tone, and some of the voicing of the characters. And like I said, as you get on, as you find your feet and figure out what the show needs to be, then it becomes what it is.
Yeah, I think Applejack in MLP actually stopped using Erasco.
Yeah. Well, I think AJ's voice was a little higher initially. I think as the series, her voice got a little more deeper. I think probably just to make sure the difference between, because it's played with the same actress who does Rainbow Dash, so maybe that was the reason.
Yeah, you have to make characters distinct. But I would say as
Exactly.
well, I would say I'm rewatching the clip again and the other both clips. I don't like the style. I really don't. I don't like
Well, both of
the.
them.
I don't. Yeah, I don't like the character design. I don't like how stretchy it is. I don't like. I know it's meant to be wacky because Crash became a much more wacky series as it went on, especially Twin Sanity and the Titan. I call it the Titans
Yeah.
games, even though they call mutants mutant as well. Um,
Yeah.
I don't particularly like it. I think because looking at Crash 4, it's like look at the cutscenes in that alone. You could make an entire series with the game engine. Because like, I expect something like that. That's still a bit wacky. It's like in the cutscene where spoilers, where all five characters meet up and say our bad guy had a change of heart as well. Cortex's hair droops when he says, "I'm a bad guy." His hair
Yes.
has personality, but it's not like
Droops
not
in
not to
disappointment.
a point where
Yeah.
it's like he himself deflates. It's just the hair. It's the little touches of that elasticity, as I mentioned, that work with Crash, not to a point where
Mm,
the whole body is pretty much bouncing up and down like a space hopper.
yeah. I would say it's funny because again, people, as you mentioned, people did say like Crash 4, oh, this could be a Saturday morning cartoon. And it's like I can see where they're going like tonally, but it wouldn't look as good as that. I mean, the way Crash 4 is like you said, some of the characters there is that, they do stretch, they do warp. There are those little segments you can see smear frames in certain shots of the game, but particularly with those characters, they're much more in line with like how Disney animators, and certain characters will have slightly different way of animating. Like Crash is definitely more of a zippy character. He's more of a who runs by cartoon logic. Like when they meet Tana, he does zipping into the frame, zipping out, zipping from the air, then out, that type of stuff. Um, in comparison, you compare it to Twana, who's a little bit more reserved. Like she's more, I'm going to say realistic, but more like, proportionate, isn't doing wacky things. I say her and even Entropy, they're not as goofy in their actions, or they're not as exaggerated and stuff. So in Crash 4's case, there's a different stance of each character's
Yeah,
animation.
it's like I like
Whereas
when it
this is
comes to
again, from what we've seen of it, is like it's clearly
I was to say when it comes to certain characters, I like it when the represent when you see how they look in the game and you treat a cartoon. I like to see a bit of representation. I hate to say it, but the Crash in Skylanders had more structure. Character-wise and personality, not a fucking chance was that Crash. But it looked and
well, I did.
animated like would Crash good, just not plan or sound like that.
I mean, he was. Yeah, I mean that version was made for that series of Skylanders. That's the reason why that Crash was in there. And I think it's that this when we talked about that episode years ago. It's like he's kind of what I imagined Crash when I was younger. Like he's kind of that dream come true, which yeah, probably a lot of people would not want that version. But hey, it's funny to see it finally on screen. So there you go. But in terms of what I've seen, because like I said, I've seen people's reaction to these shorts, and for what I keep hearing, people like some prefer the first one, the second one. The one thing that I do see a lot from people is in, as you said, it's very, very wacky, very quick, very fast paced, like, bang, 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 bang. And, there's a bit of me thinking, I bet that was not intentional to like, this is what the show's going to be like all the time. This is just a short little introduction. This could have been like the intro to the series, if this, who knows, maybe there'll be more footage or whatever comes out afterwards. But I get the idea this was, again, in-house, made for people to say, here is both the look and kind of sort of attitude we're going with the series, but it won't be this chaotic all the way through. We will have slower paced stuff in this.
Yeah, what show was it? We talked about like the first half of something was like very evenly paced, and all of a sudden the second part was just so fast paced, getting rid of all the freaking cliffhangers. I keep want to go to say I keep want to say Doctor Who, but I don't think it's Doctor Who.
No, we've got. I mean, Doctor is always having cliffhangers anyway, so regardless of that.
Yeah, I can't remember what show or game it was where like the second half was like so fast paced of a lot of stuff to a point where you just couldn't keep up. Whereas the first half, I can want to Harry Potter. I don't think it was Harry Potter. No, I don't think so. I can't. I really cannot. I cannot remember for the life of me. But I know we talked about something having way too much in the second half of something.
Yeah, probably. Maybe we'll put that on screen. But yeah, I mean, what I've read of this, because again, like I said, there was a pitch bible of this coming out, so they did point out that there's a pitch bible telling you what the show is going to be, and well, one thing people pointed out is that it's dated April 1st, so immediately this is a joke. This is a joke thing, but supposedly it isn't. And for what I've read of it, there are a couple of things about it. One is it states that the show is not going to do the games. It's not going to follow the game's central narratives or whatever. It's going to go in more of a Looney Tunes direction. Like these are going to be, I mean, I've just said this before, like, yes, they won't be, the pacing of those shorts won't be for everything, but the episodes themselves are going to be 7-minute shorts, essentially. They're going to be like these little vignettes of characters doing hijinks or whatever, intermission with a bunch of apparently going to put like a bunch of phony adverts in there, like fake movie trailers or self-styled interviews with the characters. So apparently that's kind of the tone they were going for. I mean,
why am I immediately thinking of Tasmania? I don't know why. I'm just thinking of Tasmania for that.
Well, Crash was, let's be fair, Crash is kind of inspired by Tasmania in a sense, and that I think that show did come on prior to Crash coming out one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, that show did the same thing. It was kind of on hand, you have like a Taz cartoon, but then it would focus on the other characters, either his family, these hunters, or there was a hotel manager and his mum. They were, again, sort of that type of show. In many ways, if they're going to, if they want this to be like a throwback series to anything, definitely take from Tasmania. That would probably be the best route to do.
Yeah, like there's certain cartoons, like I think Crash would work. Again, I would prefer in 3D since that usually his tenure is like supposed to be a 3D platformer. So doing a 3D series would work, and let's not forget that actually was a cartoon was made. Primary was to advertise Crash of the Titans.
Yeah, there were a bunch of little shorts, although from what I remember, there was only one they ever officially showed, which was I think it's called Monster Trucks or whatever it was. But yeah, they did do like a couple of shorts in the Titan style. And they were like, again, short, sweet little vignettes of, Cortex wants to, create mutants and he tries to use Crash. And then one is to do with Coco getting his nail done. Nina wants us. So she gets some money off her uncle to take out Crash, that type of thing.
Yeah, she can't get her nails done because she has robot hands.
Yeah, and I think they charge extra because they're robotic anyway.
Yeah. But right now it's interesting to see it, Like I'm trying to think of all the
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of you got Sonic and Mario, which is the obvious two. Then you had Legend of Zelda. Um, Beyond that, there's not really much of video game cartoons.
I mean, there've been a few, but they've kind of been just sort of one and dones. Like Mortal Kombat had one, Earthworm Jim,
Street Fighter,
actually, he's
Darkstalkers.
one. Street Fighter, yes, there's that. This one. Mega Man, the mid 80s,
Oh
the
yeah,
90s, there was one of them.
I'm thinking of NT Warrior. I freaking love that one.
Well, that's the thing. There was the 80s one, which is badly done and badly made, and then there's like the animes later on.
And then you had Charged Up, which looks fucking weird. Okay, yeah, I take
Yeah,
it
I mean,
back. I think there was
that,
plenty. It's just they are completely forgettable outside. Right now, Sonic is the only one people remember that having cartoons. That and unironically
well, that's the
Mario and Zelda.
Yeah, I mean the irony I would say with if we're comparing this to Sonic, I mean first of all, Sonic alone has had 5 cartoons on television. We have the 3D ones, we have X, the one-off anime, and then we've had 2 seasons of Boom. And again, all different from each other, and yet somehow this character keeps getting new shows somehow. I mean, we're supposed to be getting a new one for Netflix, supposedly by the next year or whatever. So
And
it's
not
all
forgetting the Night of the Werehog special.
exactly, yeah. I mean, in many ways, I like the idea of Crash getting one. I mean, because I think Crash could definitely, like I said, I like the idea of Crash having an animated series because he's designed to be like a cartoon character anyway. So you could easily make a series out of him. Although, like I said, from what we know of this version, again, it was going to go down the line of, I mean, best way to describe it, it's when I read is it's more and more like Uncle Grandpa in the sense that it's kind of in a similar way that they would have like several shorts within the half an hour, but they would be like seven
I
minutes
would
long and then
rather
intermittent with
I
other
would rather
sketches or
Crash
gags or whatever.
I would rather have Crash do the same thing as Sonic Boom, where it actually is, each episode had its own contained
Mm.
plot and there was a threat, but it's like more of the interactions of the characters.
I mean, the pilot does say that the setup is, of course, that a lot of them will be revolve around, Crash thwarting Cortex's scheme to do various evil things or whatever. In fact, one of they even got like a couple of episode ideas, and one of them is to do with he accidentally turns Nina and Coco into babies, so he has to deal with that. Actually, he turns himself into a baby as well, so there's that sort of thing. There's one involving a circus. Uh, Another one that features Papa Papu in. So there are like different ideas, and they've all got silly pun names. Like one of them's called Not So Gladiator, Big Top Bandicoot, Vortex in the Cortex. Actually, the first one's called Clock Off and Fry.
Oh god.
Yeah, and it actually features the farmer from Twin Sanity, aka the one that Cortex shoots. So there you go. It's like wow, they're really picking and choosing different ideas for this whole thing.
Yeah. Well, right now it's cancelled. We can only hope that another studio picks it up. Activision gets to another studio, say, "Hey, check this out," because has there been an
Yeah, I
instance
mean the one.
where has there been an instance where there's been multiple studios working on the same project and one gets picked out?
There have been. I mean, the one, put it this way, the two things I'll end with this is one is the one equivalent I could say to this was a couple of years ago, I was at an animation festival in which a guy named Curtis Jobbing showed off the pilot for Bob the Builder. And I'll tell you this, Bob the Builder was a completely different looking character, both tonally and, if you want to check it out, you can go on archive.org, you can see the original thing. And the story that he was told when he was signed the project to basically, could you make this better, was the BBC said to them, never darken our doors again with this thing. So he basically had to take this short pilot in which, Bob looked a lot more like Fireman Sam, and you got to make this work. You got to go back into the BBC and tell them this is the show you should have. And, it ended up being the one, and of course after apparently he redesigned the cat. He gave Bob the cat, and then they just took it from there, and then, turned into the thing of the mid-90s. And the other thing is to do with, in terms of projects. Apparently, at the moment, the news is apparently that this was shopped around. One of the stories is apparently that they did try it for like Netflix and Disney Plus and whatever, but they all turned it down. And Amazon were apparently behind this, but the reason why it's supposed to be called shit canned is for two things. One, they didn't like the character designs, or two, they didn't agree with a fart joke in one of the planned episodes.
Huh.
Yeah, so and I'm just saying here, like, if you work in the animation industry, I bet a lot of people say projects get picked up or thrown for various different reasons. I'm pretty sure a fart joke's not the reason an entire project gets canned, because if it is, apparently there were over 100 people working on this thing, apparently in India. They had a studio in India to do this. I I don't think that's the truth. I think maybe there's more to this than what we know so far. So all I'm saying is, for whatever reason this got canned, there has to be a deeper reason than just we don't like this one joke.
Yeah. No.
But as you said, for what we got, I mean, I'm glad that we got to see it. I mean, I've seen people wanting it. There's a hashtag out there to, hopefully get it back on, which may or may not happen. But for what it is, I'm glad to have seen it. I'm glad to have seen that somebody's tried an attempt to Crash. And while it's not really my take, I will say that it's not how I imagine Crash as an animated series. I'm always up for a different take on the character, and at least in different media. So yeah, whatever happens, I like to know more. I just like to know more about this whole conundrum really that's going on.
Yeah. This is again. I personally don't like the art style and everything, but I would not gonna knock it because like okay, KO has a very loose art style. It's like just drawing like you were in a sketchbook.
Yeah.
I think it was what you described it as. And yeah, that Sonic episode
Yeah,
very much
yeah.
is like how I drew Sonic in sketchbooks.
Yeah. And in many ways, I would say, that's what kind of made KO work, because it was so loose and quick. When they did these really elaborate animations of these big fight sequences, it kind of made it more, epic in a strange way. So if they were doing that for this Crash Bandicoot show, for the slapstick or whatever they want to do, again, would have loved to have seen it. And all I can say is I just, yeah, see where this goes from here, really.